Most men think that complimenting a woman is simple. Tell her she's beautiful, praise her eyes, admire her smile, and finish with a polite nod. Those lines are courteous, safe, and precisely because they're so safe, they're powerless. If she's attractive, she's already heard a dozen similar compliments. Empty words slide off her like water off a leaf. What truly makes a woman remember you isn't a generic compliment, but something that awakens something deeper. A spark of emotion, a moment of curiosity, a feeling of being seen without being fully understood. That's where the forbidden compliments take effect. Not to manipulate, but to touch the quiet emotional circuitry that runs beneath every human connection. In the spirit of Stoicism, the goal is never to conquer through tricks. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to master ourselves before trying to influence others. It teaches us to use language as a tool of clarity, not as a weapon of manipulation. When you know how to compliment with subtlety, you don't speak to fill your emptiness with attention. You speak because you genuinely notice something different and want to reflect that back to the other person. A rare, well-timed compliment can become a doorway to trust, but only when it stands on the foundation of dignity and respect. This video won't teach you the cliché lines that make someone smile and forget you a moment later. I'll show you 3 forbidden types of compliments, because they go beyond the usual boundaries and strike directly at a deeper need. The need to be seen, to be understood, and to be challenged in a way that makes them want to prove themselves. Each line I present will be explained through its psychological mechanism, with guidance on when to use it, how to say it so it truly sticks, and ethical warnings so you don't turn subtlety into manipulation. This isn't a course in tricks. It's a guide to upgrading your communication, to become the kind of man who observes, holds his value, and speaks in ways that make others want to open up. There's a rare kind of compliment that doesn't praise appearance, doesn't need fancy words, yet holds the mind far longer than any flattery. The line, "There's something about you I can't quite explain," belongs to that category. On the surface, it sounds vague, even a little elusive, but that very vagueness is its strength. Instead of boxing in a quality with overused words, it opens a space of perception. That space keeps the listener hooked because the mind instinctively wants to complete the unfinished picture. Few words invite someone to explore their own inner world as much as a compliment left intentionally incomplete. If you look deeper, you'll see 2 parallel psychological forces that make this line so powerful. The first is the principle of the open loop in cognitive psychology. When a piece of information is introduced without closure, the brain prioritizes completing that loop. A vague statement about something like this plants an unsolicited question in the listener's mind. What is it that made him wonder? That question sparks a chain of inner reflections. From reviewing one's actions, gestures, and memories to imagining possible reasons for what makes them different. This process consumes mental energy while simultaneously shifting focus and contemplation toward the speaker. That's the fundamental difference between a forgettable compliment and one that reaches the deeper layers of the mind. The second driving force relates to the need for distinction. People don't want to be just another face in the crowd. The feeling of being unique, of being seen through eyes capable of recognizing that uniqueness, creates a subtle form of self-respect. When you say there's something about her that leaves you puzzled, you're subtly telling her that in your eyes she doesn't fit the usual patterns you've encountered before. It's a form of personalized recognition, and people naturally invest in relationships where they feel seen as independent individuals. That's why this line doesn't just spark curiosity, it awakens a deeper need. The need to feel validated as different and valuable. However, understanding the mechanism doesn't mean using it crudely. This is where the moral dimension, one that Stoicism places above all, comes in. Stoic philosophy reminds us that every influence over others carries responsibility. A compliment born from emptiness, from the hunger for attention, or from manipulation will quickly reveal itself. The person being misunderstood will sense the hollowness, not only losing interest, but feeling insulted. That's why the speaker must first ask, do I truly see this quality, or am I just using the line for effect? Honesty is the prerequisite. When the words arise from genuine observation, They become an expression of dignified attention, not a tactic. Timing is the next crucial factor. This line isn't a casual opener for every situation. It gains its power only when it emerges from a meaningful interaction. After a few genuine exchanges, when the other person has lowered their guard just a little. A natural pause in the conversation is often the perfect moment to plant such a line. Say it too early, in a social setting, or when the other person is emotionally low, and the message becomes distorted or turns into a shallow trick. Those who know how to wait, who cultivate the Stoic virtue of patience, will use words at the right moment, and in doing so, increase the chance that their words are received as sincere recognition rather than an attempt to impress. Delivery should remain simple yet weighted. A calm voice, slow rhythm, gentle eye contact, and a measured pause give the line its gravity. The key is to resist the urge to over-explain. When you explain too much, you can find what should be left for the other person to discover. If she asks what exactly you mean, a short, mysterious response like, "I'm still trying to figure it out," keeps both respect and intrigue alive. And if you feel the need to offer proof, point to one specific detail, a subtle smile, a quiet pause when she remembers something, a fleeting look of sadness, rather than a list of empty compliments. The Stoics believed in the power of precision. One true detail speaks louder than a stream of ornamental words. Let's face the risks honestly. When this line is overused, when you repeat the same pattern with many people, it loses its value and becomes a slogan. Used carelessly with someone carrying unhealed wounds, it might unintentionally reopen pain. In the wrong context, it can even be mistaken for sarcasm or mockery. That's why the speaker must always take responsibility for recognizing reactions. If she seems uncomfortable, step back with a brief apology. If she goes quiet and reflective, don't rush to fill the silence. If she opens up, listen without judgment. Self-control in speech also means knowing when to stop. It's also essential to understand the link between words and actions. A compliment may open the door, but only your actions afterward determine whether the other person chooses to walk through it. If you open the door and step in with arrogance, if you listen half-heartedly, or if you use what's shared to judge or show off, that door will close. The Stoics always reminded us that words must be followed by actions that align with them. Listening without judgment, respecting boundaries, and keeping what's shared in confidence. Patience and respect turn a fleeting moment into a foundation of trust, not a scratch of insincerity. From the perspective of memory and long-term influence, this kind of ambiguous statement has the power to leave a strong imprint. Human memory prioritizes emotionally charged moments and unfinished narratives. When you prompt someone to reflect on themselves in relation to you, you increase the likelihood that they'll remember that moment, not just for minutes, but sometimes for days. They'll replay your words in their mind, compare them with your past actions, and in doing so, construct a story, one in which you become a meaningful character. This is the subtle power such words carry when they are used sincerely and responsibly. The Stoics never encouraged using words as tools to seize control of another person's emotions. Words should serve as a bridge, a means to connect, to create a safe space, to explore depth together, not to expose or exploit. When you say, "There's something about you I can't quite explain," from a place of inner calm paired with a willingness to take responsibility for your words. When you listen instead of probing, respect instead of managing, the line becomes a doorway to genuine understanding. Within that space of understanding, a relationship has the chance to grow into lasting depth. That is both the duty and the reward of someone who speaks little, but with weight. The second compliment, "I feel like there's a side of you that few people get to see," is a small line with a refined weight. It doesn't flatter appearance or surface traits. Instead, it shifts attention to a rare, more intimate aspect of a person. When spoken from a calm and observant state of mind, it signals that you've noticed not a performance, but something real. The listener, therefore, doesn't just feel complimented, they feel understood on a deeper level, an experience few ever get to have. And it's precisely that feeling of being understood that gives rise to trust, because people naturally long to be seen in the places where they're not being judged. From a psychological perspective, this line subtly affects the structure of the ego. People live within multiple layers of roles and identities. One for family, one for work, one for friends, and another, more private layer where delicate thoughts, old scars, and quiet passions reside. When someone recognizes that inner layer, the person feels freed from identification with the outer masks. In that moment, they are placed in a unique position, no longer one among many, but a singular being with distinct essence. When another's perception includes that depth, it functions as a mirror of inner worth. The natural response isn't verbal, it's the silent awareness of being truly seen. And in that awareness, the walls begin to lower, allowing authenticity to flow. The specific psychological effect of this line lies in how it reduces the feeling of being judged while increasing the sense of safety in an interaction. Surface-level compliments often trigger a kind of social alertness. Is this genuine or just polite flattery? But when you acknowledge a rare, hidden side of someone, you simultaneously send the signal that you care about depth rather than appearance, and that lowers their defenses. From a cognitive standpoint, the listener begins scanning their mind for the aspects they usually keep hidden, weighing whether to share them. And if they choose to open up, they do so with a sense of control, because they already feel respected. That's the foundation of intellectual, selective openness, not impulsive exposure. However, this effect only lasts when the words come from sincerity. Stoic philosophy emphasizes this deeply. Every expression must originate from an inner steadiness. If a compliment is the product of calculation, a strategy to extract emotion, it creates only a superficial illusion. Soon enough, a contrast will emerge between words and behavior. The listener will sense the inconsistency, and instead of opening up, they'll retreat. That's why before speaking, one must ask objectively, am I truly noticing this, or just borrowing the words to elevate myself? Honesty of intent is what separates a dignified compliment from an empty one. This line is most effective when delivered after some defenses have lowered, when the other person has shared something personal, a quiet joy or an unusual gesture. If said too early without emotional depth, it may come off as a formulaic compliment. But in a calm moment, when they've revealed something genuine, it lands like a soft light, showing that someone has truly been listening. The Stoic knows the value of timing, waiting for the right moment, like a sower waiting for the right season. Only then can words take root. The delivery should be composed and restrained. There's no need for grand language or long explanations, as that risks dissolving the intimacy you've just acknowledged. A short, slow phrase with a soft gaze holds more weight than a lengthy speech. When the other person asks what you mean, don't force them to expose everything. A simple affirmation that you value them is enough. What matters most is your actions, listening without judgment, keeping confidence, and respecting the space to not share. You must be ready to face the risks of your words. Compliments can spark positive emotions, but also bring old wounds to the surface. If used recklessly, it can lose its sincerity and become manipulative. The speaker must read subtle reactions and take responsibility. If the other person withdraws or feels uneasy, step back respectfully, reassure them, and leave space for them to process their emotions. In long-term relationships, such compliments can become a foundation of trust, if used consistently and with integrity. People don't remember a single compliment, but the consistent behavior that follows, showing that the words weren't empty. When you show that you truly see and protect the parts of someone few others notice, you create a safe space for openness. But without actions to back up the words, cracks appear, leading to withdrawal. An often overlooked aspect is how you receive the moment after giving the compliment. Not every invitation to open up will be met with full disclosure. Sometimes the other person simply smiles and stays silent. The Stoic understands that respecting this choice is the highest form of regard. You don't push them to speak, you simply offer an invitation and wait with calm attention, proving you deserve their trust. Think of this compliment as a test of your own dignity, not a tool to attract attention, but a way to show you can recognize depth in another and take responsibility for protecting it. When your words and actions align ethically, relationships naturally deepen. When used as a trick, however, the bond fractures. The difference lies in the person of dignity. They speak little but meaningfully, act with restraint, and fulfill their duties fully. It's this dignity that gives every word its true power. The third compliment carries a different kind of power. It flatters and challenges at the same time, drawing someone in while keeping a subtle distance. When you say, "I can't tell if you're trouble or exactly what I need," you're not just expressing attraction, you're planting a meaningful question, a riddle within the compliment. The message is dual. One part acknowledges the other person's allure, while the other admits that this allure might bring instability, that they have the power to throw you off balance in a way that feels worth pondering. This contradiction triggers a deep psychological response because very few compliments can spark both curiosity and the instinct to conquer. The listener instantly shifts into inner analysis. Do I really have that kind of effect on him? Is this a sign that I can influence others? And the moment those questions arise, attention turns into emotional investment. Psychologically, the effect of this line operates through a mechanism of tension and power transference. It places the listener in a position of both power and challenge. The power comes from their ability to influence. The challenge arises from the fact that they haven't completely won. This blend creates a subtle psychological game. The person wants to find out whether they can make the other fully lean toward them. And that drive to conquer easily transforms into a desire to please and invest more in the interaction. Not everyone reacts the same way, but for those who tend to affirm their value through action, this line acts as a powerful trigger. But the power of this remark doesn't come without great responsibility. The Stoics emphasize that every form of verbal influence carries an obligation. If you use this line merely to create an effect, to play a game of charm, the listener will sense the insincerity and instinctively raise their guard. That's why before speaking, you must hold yourself to two simple questions. Do I genuinely feel this uncertainty, or am I performing a role? Am I willing to take responsibility if this line stirs something unintended? When the answer is yes, the statement becomes an invitation to explore with dignity. If not, silence remains the more honorable choice. Context and timing are crucial factors. This line isn't suited for a first meeting, for someone who's hurt or exhausted, or for any professional setting. It works best when there's already a gentle foundation of interaction, a hint of flirtation, a basic sense of safety established through light exchanges. In a conversation with rhythm, where glances, subtle smiles, and small responses have already flowed back and forth, that's when you can drop the line. Throw it out carelessly and it feels misplaced. Place it at the right moment and it opens a captivating game of intellect and emotion. The delivery must remain restrained. A slow tone, a faint smile, eyes curious but not probing, a relaxed yet grounded posture. All of these signal that you're not joking, but genuinely contemplating. The pause before speaking is the most important part. Silence before the words lets the listener feel that you're thinking, not reciting a line. When you speak, don't demand an explanation. If she responds with a question, be patient. Answer briefly if needed, and let her decide whether to open up or not. The art here is to make the compliment stimulating, never pressuring. The listener's reaction can vary greatly, and you must be prepared to accept every possibility. If she responds with a playful smile, the interaction can continue through attentive listening, open-ended questions, and guiding the conversation toward depth. If she appears confused or defensive, the right move is to step back, apologize if necessary, and shift the topic gracefully. Sometimes respectful silence is the best response, allowing her the space to process the emotions you've stirred. A Stoic man never forces an outcome. He takes responsibility for the impact of his words and handles the consequences with dignity. It's also important to recognize the subtle risks. This line may trigger insecurity in someone who has been judged before, causing her to question your intentions. It can also provoke those with a testing nature, leading to unnecessary emotional games within the relationship. When overused, it becomes a manipulative tool, making the listener doubt any future compliments. Therefore, it must always be used with a non-exploitative attitude. You don't say it to test someone out of curiosity. You say it only if you're ready to accept whatever outcome may follow. Ultimately, view this line as an invitation, not a command. It invites the other person into a space of mutual exploration, a gentle experiment in connection and boundaries. If both agree to step in, the conversation may deepen. If she chooses to withdraw, respect that choice as her right to autonomy. Here, Stoic spirit and human dignity intersect. Use words to open understanding, but let respect be the first and last rule. When you embrace that, the compliment ceases to be a tactic. It becomes a medium through which two people meet in honesty and responsibility. The three compliments we've just explored are not tricks. They are doorways built on the foundation of genuine attention. The line, "There's something about you I can't quite explain," awakens curiosity. "I feel like there's a side of you that few people get to see," invites trust. And "I can't tell if you're trouble or exactly what I need," creates a tension that is both challenging and magnetic. Each of them operates under the same principle. They reach into the deeper layers of human nature, the need to be seen, understood, and challenged, rather than merely praise for outward beauty. Stoic philosophy reminds us of two key principles when using such words. The first is inner source. Words only have value when they come from awareness, from genuine observation, not from a manipulative agenda. The second is responsibility. To speak something means to take full ownership of its impact, to respect boundaries, to step back when needed, and never to force the other person to respond in the way you expect. Those who use language with subtlety are those who are both self-disciplined and respectful of others. Remember, real strength lies in aligning your actions with your words. If your words invite, let your behavior show openness. If you promise respect, keep your distance when it's appropriate. And if you spark curiosity, take responsibility by listening deeply when the other person responds. This practice isn't about quick victories. It's about shaping a way of being, speaking less but with weight, listening more than talking, and always placing another's dignity above personal gain. When you live by that spirit, compliments cease to be tactics and become a language of understanding. And it's that understanding that keeps every relationship honest, steady, and enduring. If you found value in what you've just heard, help spread this message by hitting like, subscribing to the channel, and sharing this video with someone who might grow from it. A single like is encouragement for meaningful content. A subscribe is your commitment to walk the path of inner discipline, and a share is a way to pass on a piece of calm strength to someone else.